Geez, we got to hit the record button.
Yeah.
We'll continue.
It's happened before, not to worry.
No problem. Okay. So we had conversations with DEP right through the whole process, and the folks from DEP came down. We wanted their feedback to see what is their thought, because this is an extensive filling we are proposing here because of the stability and the kind of slope stability we need. Can we do that? So, and at the same time, we were also talking to Kevin, the previous commissioner, or like the agent, and then he was on board as well. The city was on board. The only thing DP asked us is like, to not put any walls and stuff like that. We looked at those alternatives. They also wanted to have stone, but they also wanted to throw some top dressing for the plants and stuff to grow in the future to make it all like natural and things like that. So they came down and had this conversation. We had this conversation with the city and the DPW and everybody. So moving moving on, this is a cross section, meaning if you were to cut a cross section on this bank, so this is the brook right here, and this is that slope. Again, this is looking upstream. So what we are proposing, this again, this is from the software we use for the soil slope stability analysis, and these are the different layers of soils and stuff like that. So what you see is right now, this is the existing bank. This is what it failed. And then what we are proposing is come at like a 1:1.7 slope and then fill this back all the way up to here, coming from the existing bank all the way in as shown on the plans up to here at this slope with this kind of a stone, like the same standard stone as what's out there right now for the slope. We're going to fill this up and this slope would be stable. That's our solution. I mean, there is no workaround. We looked at few alternatives, we look at few other things, but this is the only viable solution. Again, you're talking about a cost-effective solution as well. So this is a cross-section, how it's going to look like. So before we got there, right, how did we get there? We looked at different analysis. I'm going to quickly show some alternatives, like what we went through in this analysis, so that covers the alternative analysis part of the NOI. So more cross sections. This is what the existing cross section looks like right now. You can see it's super steep and it's failing, and this number is what we call a slope stability factor based on the geotechnical analysis, and this is not a good number. It has to be above like a 1.2, and you can see this is clearly failing. And then as we leave it up to there, more storms, this is going to get worse, and at some point this whole bank could fail. So this is what is there right now. So once we started running some numbers, we said like, okay, can we keep the bank where this is right now and start filling this up? This is the existing bank right here. Go maybe go a little bit up to this, not too far into the brook, but maybe go a little bit and then go at a certain slope and do this. We were still not able to achieve the factor, so this slope itself is also going to fail. So that's one of the alternatives, is we went a little bit into the stream with a certain slope, see what happens. That didn't work. And the next one, what we did is we had to come up with like a certain flat slope, right? So we went much farther into the brook, and we had to do a 4-foot high wall, and said like, if we were to put some material behind it, you need a natural wall, some sort of a wall here, and then you need to slope back up. Even with that solution, we were really not able to get this factor of safety. There is still a small area which could be unstable. So this is our alternative two, where we looked at like a 4-foot high wall in combination with filling this back up. What would it do? And then we also looked at like a 6-foot high wall. Again, we were trying to limit the amount of encroachment into the brook. And we looked at this and we said like, could this work? Yes, maybe it could work. But the only thing is DEP, which is Mass DEP, shot down this option because they didn't really want any wall for this solution, because they want the habitat to be able to be accessible. So this wall would just cut off a good chunk of like habitat that could be, living or maybe moving around this slope kind of thing. They said like just do not do any wall. And also the wall is a very inexpensive um, venture for the city. It's going to cost them a lot. So these are not the alternatives we looked at. We looked at different kinds of walls, different heights of walls. But ultimately, we ended up saying, like, you know what? We cannot put a wall, but we had to go more into the brook with a certain slope, and this seems to be working. And that's our solution. That's exactly a solution for this particular um, problem. Um, with this, I'm going to turn it to Conrad, who will be talking about all the resource areas and the impacts and the numbers, the performance standards. Conrad?
Oh,
Yes, we can hear you.
okay, good. Now I got to get back to where I can see what I'm talking about.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we're just have to delineate the wetland impacts and quantify them for the permit applications. So I've shown we had the flagger, the wetland person, go out and flag the resource areas that we're talking about here. We have bank, which is the top of the bank first, the first observable break and slope. So that was obvious. You can see from the contours, the blue lines are the existing condition bank, which is after the slope failure. This area, that blue line right there, is the top of that slope failure, and it approximately corresponds with the same elevation as the top of the bank on the other side of the river, which is very clearly defined. It drops off very steeply there, and then above it is a flat wooded area. Beyond on the outside is the riverfront, is a 25-foot in this area because it's an urban area. That's the riverfront resource area, is that dotted line on the outside of the blue. So that's the existing condition. Now, after the proposed condition is to bring down in this riprap area a consistent slope that's going to hold up. And so the existing, the proposed bank is going to be this orange line here. That'll be a line that corresponds with the same elevation as on the other side of the stream. So that'll be the top of the proposed bank. So the definition of land underwater is the stream channel, and what's underwater is in between the top of the banks. That's the land underwater. So in the existing condition, this land underwater resource area would be defined by the blue lines. And in the proposed condition, the land underwater resource area is going to be defined between the orange line and the blue line. So that's going to be the proposed channel, which is about what it was before the slope failed. So that's what we use to quantify these areas for the permitting application. And so the bank, we're basically just moving the bank over. It's defined by linear feet along the stream channel. So we're having 128 feet long and on one side and 20 feet long on the other side, where we're going to be altering it and moving it over. So we're not losing any bank. If we were extending the culvert or if we were doing something like that, then we would be losing bank. But we're not losing any bank. We're not having any impact to the linear feet of bank that's out there. What we are going to lose is what's now defined as the land underwater, is that the area between that blue line and that orange line is going to be a permanent, what's called a permanent impact by having riprap there. Right now, it's just sand that's washed away, and we're going to armor that with the riprap and then cover it with geotextile and then some topsoil and vegetate it. So it'll have, but it's considered a permanent alteration to have that riprap there. So that's That number there is the area, the square feet that we're gonna have in there. And so these are the impacts to the resource areas that are defined in the area and the length. And I also noted here that the volume of the material that we're going to pull out, you saw that big pile of riprap and sediment that's in the middle of the stream channel now. That's going to be taken out of there so that the stream can flow through there and it won't be constricted and moving from one side to the other. So 35 cubic yards is what we calculated we're going to dredge out of there. And that is less than the 100 cubic yard limit that says we have to go for a 401 water quality with the Army Corps of Engineers. We don't have to go and get an individual permit from them. We can just do what's called a project notification. And they can have an expedited permitting process with the Army Corps of Engineers. So we will have to go through and do that. The riverfront is that 25 foot line outside of the top of bank. Because we're putting that riprap slope into that area beyond the top of the bank there to maintain the stability, we are going to have an alteration of that area by armoring that part of the bank. There will be no new impervious area. We're not going to be paving anything. We're pulling out the impervious swale that we've got in there for a emergency measure right now, and that's going to become a pervious area. The water will hit the armoring, the riprap, and it'll still soak into the ground there before it hits the river. So then we have to go through the performance standards as to what we have to do in order to not impair these resource areas. They're defined in the regulations. In the bank resource area, we're not allowed to impair the physical stability of the bank or the water carrying capacity of the stream, ground and surface water quality, and then the wildlife concerns about the habitat, the escape cover, food for fisheries, and other important wildlife habitat functions. So we have gone and said, well, for the physical stability, that's why we are doing this project, is we're creating physical stability on this bank so it doesn't keep eroding and dumping the material into the stream channel. That's what we're doing and why we're doing it. And the water carrying capacity, we're going to be removing that sediment that went into the channel, and we've done the analysis with the computer models of the runoff and indicated that we have the water carrying capacity that we need in that channel there. And the water quality concerns, obviously, we don't want all that material being dumped in the stream. So having that bank stabilized and the areas around the road embankment stabilized so they don't wash into the stream is going to improve the water quality. Because right now we've got a bunch of stuff in there we don't want in there. And the habitat is going to be improved by the same way. I mean, you're not going to have the bank falling into the stream being blocked up by the sediments. There will be a channel available with that dredging through there so that the aquatic organisms can move up and down, and we're going to be providing material on that bank so that the plants can grow and we're not going to be putting the walls in there, which I guess would be interpreted to restrict habitat and their access. So those are our answers to the performance standards for a bank, and the performance standards for the land underwater is essentially the same. They want to ensure that we're not impairing water carrying capacity, which we've done the modeling, and with that dredging and removing that material out of the channel, we're going to have the capacity that we need. The ground and surface water quality is the same thing. We're going to prevent the erosion, prevent the deposition in the stream channel. That's going to help the water quality. And the answers for the habitat are the same as well. We're gonna be protecting those habitat functions. So those are our answers on the performance standards. And I guess we'll open it up now for discussions and questions.
So,
Commissioner
So
Thank you,
this
gentlemen.
is, oh,
Go ahead, Juanita.
this is very similar to a little further downstream that was just done on Dickinson, and it's very similar, and it's been holding up. You know the one I'm talking about?
yes, we were involved with the design of that bank as well. We
Right.
had to come in as an emergency repair and fix that bank. It's very similar, except in Dickinson, it was just the bank off the street itself. In this case, we are also, fixing the stability of the brook, of the bank of the
Mhm.
brook.
Mhm.
Yes.
On the other side of Tiffany, the banks are not stable there. There's a lot of erosion. Right on the other side of of Tiffany, on,
The
have you
upstream
seen?
site?
Yeah, the upstream.
So yes, I mean, there are pockets of this whole brook, for
Right.
the downstream as well as for the upstream, that has issues because the rivers tend to be dynamic in nature, and whenever it bends through and stuff like that, it starts eating some of the banks. However, this particular bank seems to be the most unstable at this point, and it's clearly risking properties on top of this bank, like immediately on top of this bank.
Mm-hmm.
Has identified this, and they said, like, this is happening because of the way the culvert is aligned at this point. It's hitting, and it's like a really, like, it's a safety hazard at this point for this property. So they said, like, let's go and do this first. So at some point in the future, the city may consider looking at the upstream sections and other areas of the brook itself, which are unstable.
Yeah, because on the other side, there are also houses on the top of the hill there. But
Yes,
anyway,
but not as bad as this
As this
stretch
one?
right now. This one, because on the upstream side, relatively the velocities are like slow and stuff, as opposed to like downstream side. You see the water shooting right out of this culvert, hitting the bank and things like that. So it's not as bad, when you look at like this one particular bank. But like I said, at some point the city will probably
sure,
consider.
because that's going to be bringing sediment down through there as well. But
Yes, yeah. They will, again, like every stream will have, it's a dynamic in nature. Streams tend to carry sediment as they move along. But at some point, this is like our project at this point. The focus is to address this extreme section at this point.
yeah,
Commissioner
Thank you.
Collins,
Yes, sir.
only because I started the recording late in the process. I just want to kind of give a point of clarification for the record as to where we are on the agenda. So again, this is the November 8th, 2022 Conservation Commission meeting. We're currently on item number 1 under public hearings, new petition 7090, notice of intent filed for Tiffany Street Channel Improvement Project. And we've had a presentation by the Weston and Sampson team. So I just want to point that out for clarification. But also I want to give also a roll call once again, just for the record, as to which commissioners are on board.
Thank you, Alvin. And also, just for the public's knowledge, all of the items above this item, which is Roman numeral 3, item 1, were continued. So there was no discussion or action on those items.
Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick roll call before we get into further discussion. Commissioner Collins,
Here,
Commissioner Martinez,
here,
Commissioner Alminas,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
and Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
And just for clarification, Commissioner Ryan will participate in the meeting. He'll listen in on the meeting, but he will not vote as he has not been sworn in as of yet.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
So gentlemen, that was a excellent
What-
presentation, by the way. Have you received comments back from DEP yet? Probably.
Yes.
I don't
yes.
expect many since you work so closely with them.
Yes, so that's what I want to just add before this discussion is we received a set of comments from DEP last week. I forwarded them to the commissioner. Alvin has a copy of those comments. We received what is called, like, I think approximately 3 or 4 comments. The first comment being, the commission should discuss the performance standards, understand the performance standards, including the application. Obviously, we provided a lot of explanation to the performance standards. They also want us to discuss the alternatives, which I did. We went through the alternatives for this project. The only one thing outstanding will be they wanted us to do a wildlife habitat evaluation because the length of bank impacts exceeds more than 50 feet. They want us to do that, which, knowing that we just got the comments from DEP last week, we scheduled that to take place. Somebody from our office is actually going out there tomorrow to do this survey and fill out the forms and things like that. We will have a report prepared in a week's time. So I would like to request us to, accept submission of that report in a week's time, which is approximately around by November 18th or 22nd. We will be able to provide the report of the habitat evaluation for this project. That's the only thing. And then at some point, you all can look at the DEP comments when you get a chance.
Thank you. And because this meeting is being held by Zoom, we have to continue to the next meeting anyway, so that gives you time to get it in.
Okay.
So we're okay with that because we couldn't vote on it this evening anyway. You couldn't even close the public hearing this evening. So you still got time to do your submittal.
Okay, sure.
Are there questions from the commissioners? Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, are there questions from the public? You said you have some public in the room?
Yes, we do have public in the room. I'm not sure if anyone has questions. Can you just give your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Jim Felton, 216 Tiffany Street. The brook runs through about 400 feet of my property. So we're going to improve the erosion process and improve the flow, correct?
Yes.
That works
To
for me.
stabilize the erosion and improve the flow in the stream.
Yeah. Has the flow been restricted the past couple of years? Because of because of the erosion and the sediment and so forth?
The sediment that gets deposited in the stream definitely restricts flow and or shifts flow, which
Okay.
has aggravated the situation, which has caused the erosion, which contributes to the erosion on the side. Because when that pile of materials that are down in there, the water's got to go around it. And so it starts chewing into the bank. By
Right.
removing that, the water will be able to flow more freely into the culvert and the erosion will be minimized, if not eliminated.
Sounds good to me.
I thought you might like that.
It is good. Especially for your house. It's very good.
Oh, that's great. A couple of years ago when the brook was really flowing, I'm getting a little hard of hearing, but even from my deck, I could hear it flow, especially after a good rain. So anything to improve it, I'm definitely in favor of. I mean, I've seen some blue heron down there.
Yeah, it would be a good spot for them to stop because there's a couple of pooled areas there. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're gonna stock some fish in there too, or?
Actually, I think that stream way upstream might have some fish in it. So, but they all end up down in the park. So you go down there to catch them. But although you can't.
Well, I did when I was a kid.
That's right. Kids can catch them. Are there any other questions or comments from the public or commissioners?
We have a person here, name and address.
Matthew DeBurn, 197 Jewett Street, Springfield. Quick question on the process of reestablishing that bank for more stability. How long do you think that process will take, and what steps are you going to do to reduce environmental impact while work is being done?
So the process, what we think is this is approximately a 6-week to an 8-week construction process. Pretty much we have like Mass DOT and city standards that we need to follow, like in terms of following all the environmental practices. We will have a temporary access through this side of the brook, and then the flows are low enough that they will be temporary access trying to take this out, as well as like smaller equipment will be dropped in here, and then the slope will be stabilized and things like that. But again, we follow all the standard industry practices. There will not be any sort of environmental contamination from construction. We follow the best management practices of the industry. Obviously the city will pick a contractor, they'll come down, they'll do this stuff. This being a quick 6-week project, it should be fairly quick, and there will be all kinds of specifications in our design submission, as well as we will have all kinds of environmental details and things like that, sediment erosion control measures, to make sure like the contractor is following exactly all the best management practices to make this like more an environmental friendly project kind of a thing, but not be cautious with this thing. And then, like we said, as a permanent solution, we are just not putting the riprap. We're going to put it top dress with some geotexture, and also provide for future plantations and vegetation to grow through these stones, just to make it more natural.
Thank you.
As an order of work, would the last thing you'd be doing would be removing the sediments within the stream, the old riprap?
That's
Probably.
up to the contractor, but I would say he would want to get that material out of there first.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking it gives him more stability to work by leaving it there and then taking it out on his way out, but
Yeah.
It
Well, I
could,
think they got,
mean, yeah, either way. I mean, again, it'll all be based on like what the contractor would want to do, depending on like, it could be done either way.
yeah, either. Okay, I was just
And
curious.
I have one other question. All the trees that are there now, with the new findings that trees on these unstable slopes are not great, because when they fall, they leave such a hole. Will those be removed, especially those big ones, or even the small ones that are going to become big ones? The ones
Yes.
I'm seeing now, yeah.
Yeah, so what's happening is this slope lost quite a bit of trees over the past few years, especially these big trees. And any remaining trees will be like, causing more instability to this bank.
Right.
So this pretty much, all the small trees, whatever the small, very like 2-inch, 3-inch barks kind of a thing, all that will be removed again. Like I said, already like there's a huge loss of trees. They were all gone. Right now it looks like this, very unstable bank. So pretty much, it's going to look like something like this when all said and done with the stone put in, and at some point there will be like natural growth coming on top of that. But again, putting in tree in addition to the stone, Deep, you brought up this to see like if we can make it more like in a combination of trees and stones, and then our analysis said like that will be still unstable. We cannot
Right.
have any trees within this mix, just riprap.
Sure, because when those trees come down, they just leave a gaping, it causes more erosion.
Yes, yeah, they take down a huge chunk of these banks. That's
Yeah.
what happens here.
I'm sure that's what caused a lot of the erosion there, some of the bigger trees when they came down due to
Yes.
the instability of the slope.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, we had to go through that with the dike. Remember, Juanita, where
Yeah,
a lot of trees had to be removed.
yeah,
on
that
the
was
local
after
side
Katrina. After
Yeah.
Katrina, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
in order to make them more stable, more secure.
yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question, Jeff Scott from 296 Draper Street. Will there be any work being done on the north side of Tiffany Street as part of the cleanup? I know on that side of the street, there is, as Ms. Martinez has alluded to, there's a lot of erosion going on that part as well. And right as you get to Tiffany, there's a fair amount of debris that seems to be restricting the water flow quite a bit in that corner. And even a further way up, maybe about 30 feet up, is eroding on the Entry Brook Street side. I know I can see that from my house, and the neighbor's yard has eroded quite a bit on that side, seemingly due to trees that have come down into the brook.
Not as part of this project. This project strictly addresses the existing issue right now with Tiffany Street and the south side. Again, in the future, the city may take up that project to address like the issues with the north side of the Tiffany Street as well as like other parts of the bank. One thing I want to mention right here is the city went ahead with this project because they got some money through FEMA grants. Again, it may not be a priority. It's something that you want to take up with the engineering department, bring it to their notice, and if they find funding or if they have money allocated for this project, they will probably be able to address the north side as well. But this project is strictly to meet the FEMA grant, and you'll be able to get that money and do this project with that money, is what this project is.
While you have your employee out there doing the habitat study,
Yes.
could you have them go to the north side of the entrance to the culvert and just survey? And if there's things that are blocking the culvert, make the park aware from that. And there may be more money in that grant where they could at least make sure the opening of that culvert isn't restricting flow. I know they probably don't have money to adjust the bank at this time, but just to prevent anything further, if there's stuff blocking that is washed down, blocking the opening of the culvert, could you make the park aware of that, please?
We can. Again, things like that is considered as routine maintenance by the city, DPW. Whenever there is a storm, whenever there's a huge rain event, there will be always like trees falling through the banks and stuff like that. And when the city has a responsibility to look at, like inspect all the culverts and stuff like that. And again, I assume they do a periodic maintenance on all of those things. They inspect these things, and they clean up any kind of debris, any kind of blockages on a very periodic basis. That's what DPW personnel do. But definitely we will have our personnel look at the north side and note any issues as well.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Any questions from the public? Any more from the public? Okay, then a motion to continue is in order because we are in a Zoom meeting, and this gives the opportunity for members of the public who may be listening, who want to comment between now and our next meeting, they can call. Phil, what's the number they should call? They should be called, or Alvin, whoever's there.
So our main office number is 413-787-6020. And they can certainly come in. We're located at 70 Tapley Street in Springfield if they want to come in and look at any plans.
And is there an email that they could, they were using Kevin's, I'm sure, I don't think you're monitoring that anymore, or are you?
No, they could use my email. My email is allen, ALLEN @springfieldcityhall.com.
Thank you. That, so if members, if anybody who's listening or watches this from the city's website and they want to make comment, you can do it one of those two ways. So then a motion to continue to our next meeting would be in order at this time.
I make a motion, we continue the Tiffany Street culvert until next meeting. And thank
I'll
you
second.
again.
Thank you, Peter. Go ahead, Alvin.
Want me to call the next item?
No, we should call a roll on the motion to continue.
Oh, sorry. Okay. On the roll, Commissioner Powell,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes,
Commissioner Alminas,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, if you, you can unshare your screen now if you'd like.
Yeah,
And the next item is an informational item about the Duggan School Athletic Field. So he's going to give us an update on what their proposals are.
Hi,
Are you-
everybody.
Are you unsharing your screen, by the way? So we can-
I'm trying to, can't figure out, because, hold on.
Bottom center.
I mean, I lost my whole big screen. Oh, okay, hold on here. Stop share.
There we go.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you again. It was a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, and who's going to give us the update for the Duggan Athletic
Hi.
Field?
Hi, everybody. My name is Will Cahalan with the City of Springfield Capital Asset Construction Department. We have Kathy and Kyle from Gale Associates. They're a designer on the project.
How you do?
And we just wanted to come before you to give you a little update because we are abutting wetlands at a part of the site, and we do currently have some proposed improvements there. So we just wanted to come before everybody, and I'll hand it off to Kathy and Kyle.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Will. And thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner members. If I could share my screen, that would be terrific.
Sure.
There we go. Let's start here. Does everybody see that? It's just the existing conditions.
We will in a moment. There it is. Yep,
there
we got it.
Okay, so first, as Will said, my name's Kathy Hervel. I'm the project manager for Gale Associates, and Kyle is with me as well. He's our lead designer. The project involves improvements to the athletic complex at the Duggan Academy, which is located at the corner of Wilbraham Road and Bradley Road. The Academy is active as an active school with some existing parking and such. It does have some grass athletic facilities in the back, a basketball court, as well as you can see remnants of an old running track in this area. And we're looking to improve that. The resource areas are over in this area. I'm going to just take you through. This is our phasing plan. Our plan is to do the job in 3 phases. The first is going to be the Ted Plumfield Stadium, which is proposed to be a state-of-the-art 400-meter track with a multi-purpose game field, synthetic turf game field. It also involves grandstands, press box, various field events associated with the track. So a couple of basketball courts, and then some athletic lighting for the fields, as well as some surface lighting for walkways and such at nighttime. That's phase 1. Also, there's a community garden right now proposed as phase 1 up in this area, and we'll get into that in a minute. Phase 2 is redoing the grass fields that sit behind the school, baseball, softball, and kind of multi-purpose use. Phase 3 then is to provide some additional parking and improve the parking behind the school to support the new facilities. But we also would like to do a loop road to improve pickup and drop off at the school, and then also improvements to the existing parking for the school as well. The resource areas, as you can see, are up in this area, which is actually west of the property. Here's Wilbraham. It's kind of a little different orientation than my existing conditions. I apologize for that. But as you can see, the 2 items that kind of flirt, I guess, with the natural resources is this community garden, which you can see the 100-foot buffer zone just clips the edge here. Note that that community garden is in an area that's already previously disturbed as part of the school existing fields. Also, the community garden, what we envision is going to be more a raised, like wooden structure, not really with footings, you know, in the ground, very little disturbance, kind of built up a few feet with various pods, planting sections for people to work in. The other issue, I don't want to say issue, but the other part of the project is some walking trails that we're proposing down in the adjacent wooded area. These would involve very selective clearing, very limited disturbance as far as the installation for those. So we're really here to confirm with you what permitting, if any, you know, the Conservation Commission would be looking for this project, just based on what we anticipate limited impacts, but obviously that's why we're here to have those discussions.
Judging from your plans, phase 1 and 2 looks like you don't need. It's all beyond the jurisdiction.
Okay.
The parking is phase 3, right?
Yep.
And what are the foot trails? Is that phase 3 as well?
That's right now it says phase 2, but I think some of that's to be determined depending on you know, how the first phases go and funding and things along those lines. But this is kind of the hope, the vision for the project.
So that may be able to be accomplished. There are existing trails there, right?
There are some clearing. I don't know if they're really formal trails, but there is some walking paths back in there.
So depending upon how much work you think are going to be done to those trails, that would be what you would need to come forward for a permit. It either could maybe be able to be done under determination of applicability if it's more trail maintenance and light work. If it's a little more than that, then it would be a notice of intent.
Okay.
But for the first 2 phases, I don't see that you would be filing with us at all.
Are you also including the community garden? Do you feel that
The community garden is in disturbed
Very
area,
small.
and it's just on
Yes,
the edge
yep.
of the 100-foot. So
right?
that you really wouldn't need to file for that either.
Perfect. That's what we were hoping you would say, but good. Then we, like I said, what we're hoping to do is permit the whole project as one piece, but We may come in phases, and again, some of those discussions are still occurring, so.
Well,
And
good
it
luck
has to-
on the
oh.
parking lot because you're gonna have a lot of geotechnical work to do there.
Yes, yep, we do, so.
I just have a question. It doesn't have anything to do with us, but the track that's there, because the track that's there now, even though it's an old one, it's used by the neighborhoods for walking. Will that be used? Do you know if that's going to be open to the public for that track for people walking?
Will, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, yes, I believe the intent is, for the community to be able to utilize it, and
Okay.
I think a lot of folks will get to enjoy it. There's still quite a few people who walk on it.
Right now, yeah,
today,
you
yeah.
drive by, I always see people walking on it when I drive
Yeah.
by.
All the walking tracks in the city get a lot of use, actually.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would expect that will actually increase once you actually
right.
formalize.
And I'd hate to see that go if it was close to because I know you were saying this was a state-of-the-art track, and I didn't think that maybe they would let the public use it. Because although there's that other walking area, sometimes people don't feel as comfortable walking in the woods.
Right. Yeah, we're also hoping to have a kind of a walking trail around the whole facility as well.
Oh,
So,
that would be really nice, yeah.
I mean, Springfield College for years has allowed public to walk on
Yeah,
there. So that
exactly.
it's not like it hurts it any.
No,
Yep.
we need a fit citizenry.
That's what we got, a fitness area coming too.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
We're in here. Yep, sorry, I didn't mention that.
Oh,
but
is
yep,
that what's down in the end there? It looked
just
like
a
it was
little
more than
fitness
just the-
area
Yeah.
in here, little blip right here. Yep.
It's going to be really good.
You know, there is one obviously, the one in Forest Park, that is used by so many people. And during COVID, there was like a line to use it.
They get a lot of use. So does Blunt Park. All of them get a lot of use. Really
Mm,
nice.
Good, looks good.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Yes.
Appreciate the time.
Yes, we appreciate your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. And I'm glad to hear you started out by
Thank you.
saying it's Ted Plum Field, because that was the point that they would always recreate Ted Plum Field.
Yeah.
Who is Ted Plum?
Ted Plum was an old coach that the football field behind Putnam was named after. Longtime
Ah.
teacher and coach. And it was a shame when it was taken down, and they had already named the one at Central, so they couldn't move it over there. So
Oh, good.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
evening.
Having gone through the agenda, because we don't have anything on here for additional business or new business, and I don't think we have any. Motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Fred.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Juanita.
Roll call, Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Alminas,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.